Good morning. It's pretty early here. The sun's not yet up in Texas, but I woke up early this morning. I decided to get some work done, and I thought, since I'm sitting here sewing up my pom-pom-preen, that I would do a little video. So this is going to be a market story time about the time that I was visited by a wise old man. Maybe he was magical, maybe he was normal, who knows. So this one time when I was doing a market, it was a little small town market that I usually do, or that I did a lot last year. I haven't done it this year. Over in a small town near mine. And so this one day, it's a pretty good market, you know, things are moving along. It was one of my earlier markets. I didn't have a ton of stock, but it was probably the first time that I had, you know, like a respectable amount of stock built up before I did the market. And so this old man comes through. He looks at all my stuff, you know, he tells me how cool everything is. And he says, "But you don't have pigs." And I said, "Oh no, you know, I don't have pigs. I don't really have, you know, a pig pattern that I've found." Or, you know, like whatever, just chit-chatting. And like most people who, you know, they're looking for a specific animal, he's like, "Oh, well, you know, I wish you had pigs." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you know, that's cool." And, you know, he stayed a little while longer just talking to my husband. And he was very nice, very kind. But then as he's walking away, you know, he's kind of like, he turns back and he's like, "You should really sell pigs." And he's walking backwards, like slowly backing away from my booth. He's like, "You should really make some pigs. I promise if you make pigs, you'll sell every one of them." And he's like doing like weird hand gestures and like being pretty fervent or like passionate about these pigs. And I'm like, wow, this man really likes pigs. He's like, "I promise you." He says it like 3 or 4 times. He's like, "I promise you, if you make pigs, you'll sell everyone." I'm like, okay. And I kind of just like brush it off. Like a lot of people tell me like I should make mermaids, or I should make owls is one. I should make foxes. You know, people kind of always just have like those things they say. But for some reason, what this man said like really stuck with me. Like it like, not in a negative way, and not even really in not even really as something I was always thinking about, but like every once in a while I would just like remember him and I would laugh because he was so funny. And so one day I'm sitting down at my desk and I'm like, you know what? Let me try to make a pig. And so I look around on Instagram, because at that time I was relying like pretty heavily on free patterns. I wasn't really buying very many patterns. I had bought a few of the Mama Made Mini Snugglers, but nothing really like crazy. I hadn't really spent a whole ton of money just on patterns. So I'm like, let me see if I can make a pig. So I sat down. I had already designed a little pocket chicken before, which is free on my Instagram. And at this time, I'm just like, you know, let me try. And I wanted to make it to where it could be like a pretty cheap item. I wasn't trying to make a big pig. I wanted it to go in like my $5 series. And so I sit down, I make like a rough draft of a little like pocket pig. And it's cute. And then the baby comes in and he kind of plays with it. And of course at this time he's 2. He hasn't even started talking yet. And he's just like, I want. And I'm like, yeah, you can have it. That's fine. You know, it took me 30 minutes to make up, or maybe 45, since it was the very first time I had ever done it. But I did write it down as I went. And then as it got closer to market time, I was like, you know, I'll make some of those pocket pigs. I wrote it up. I put it on Instagram. And then for my next market, I took about 8 maybe of those little piggies. And I sold every one. I sold every single one. And the next market, I made a couple of the pigs and I sold every one. And so this went on. I never made very many. I made between 5 and 10 for my markets whenever I made them. There were a few markets where I didn't take them. But then it gets to around Christmas time and I'm doing my Christmas market. And as I've already said in another video, my Christmas market did not go very well. But I did have pigs at that market and I sold every one of them. Every one. Crazy. And it got me thinking about the man. And I was like, that's so crazy how he was so right, you know? Like if I made a pig, I was gonna sell everyone. And so I posted the story up on my Instagram story, or my Instagram reels. I was like, this crazy thing happened. And so everyone in the comments, of course, like has their wild theories. He was a member of the Fae. He blessed me. He was an old wizard performing a good deed. Clearly he was prophesying into my life or whatever. But, you know, whoever that old man was, and I really hope I do see him again someday so I can tell him how it worked out. But whoever that old man was, he was right. I have sold every pig I have ever taken to market. And it's not lost on me that they're little piggies and I took them to market. So I know that sometimes when people give us advice at markets, unsolicited advice, it can kind of rub us the wrong way. I know that I've seen people say before in their videos that they think that it's just kind of people's way of getting out of buying anything when they don't want to. They'll just say like, oh, you know, if you had a horse, I'd buy a horse. If you had a fox, I'd buy a fox. And maybe for some people, but I don't think that's for everyone. You know, I think some people are genuinely well-intentioned, and that man gave me probably the best advice, because I've sold, you know, cheaper items, I've sold high dollar items, I've sold a lot of stuff in my markets, doing them over the last year. But to date, I probably made the most money on pigs if I really, really were to sit down and like crunch the numbers, because they don't take me very long to make. And I've sold every single pig I've ever made. So there's my 2 cents. So what do you think? Old man, member of the Fae, just wise beyond his years, happened to know the local market very well. Whoever he is, I thank him for that bit of advice. All right, guys. See you next time.